Okay, the next topic that we talked about was the quadratic formula. And that says that we can take x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the problem will look like this, and the reason that we have to use the quadratic formula generally is because the problem could not be factored. But even if a problem could be factored, you could still use the quadratic formula and get the answer for it. So I'm going to show you one that was factorable, but I'm using the quadratic formula. And then I'm going to show you one that wasn't factorable and you had to use a quadratic formula. All right, so we've got to figure out what a, b, and c are in order to put them in the correct places into our formula. So a is the first number in front of x squared. B is the number next to just plain x, and it's going to be a positive 7. And c is this constant, this negative 3 at the end. So I'm going to start putting the pieces into my formula. So b, or 7, is going to go right here, negative 7 plus or minus the square root. I'm going to use the b again, so I'm going to put 7 squared minus, there's always a 4, and then I'll put the a value and the c value, and make sure you're using a negative 3 right there. This is all over a 2, and then times your a value, which is 6. So in the notes, I told you that really we kind of want to look at just the square root by itself for a little while before we add in all of that other stuff. So I'm going to kind of simplify as I go on that. So I've got the square root, 7 squared, that would be 49, and then there's a minus sign. I know 4 times 6 is 24, and then that 24 times a 3, I don't happen to know that off the top of my head, so let me grab a calculator. 24 times 3 is 72. So I've got the minus sign, but then 4 times 6, 24, times negative 3 is a negative 72. So what happens is this actually becomes an addition. So 49 plus 72 is 121. 121 should be ding, 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 dinging in your brain as a special number. It is 11 times 11, and I do have a pair. So we're going to bring that 11 out. No more square root. But I still want to keep all of the rest of the pieces. So all I did was just the math part that lived in here. I'm going to put negative 7 plus minus 11 over, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this, 2 times 6 is 12. Now, because this is all just numbers, I need to keep going. This is not an answer. I'm going to take negative 7 plus 11 over 12 and figure that out. And I'm going to take negative 7 minus 11 over 12 and get an answer for that as well. So negative 7 plus 11, that's 4 over 12, which can reduce to 1/3. Negative 7 minus 11 is negative 18 over 12, and 18 and 12 have a 6 in common, so I can reduce that to, so I'm dividing both of these by 6, in case you need to see my brain, negative 3 over 2. So these would be the two answers that I got. Now, because these are regular answers, I could have factored this problem to get the solution, but we happen to use the quadratic formula. I'm going to show you one more quadratic formula. And I'm going to write the formula down again. Opposite b, plus or minus square root, plus or minus square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. That's how I remembered it back in the day. Right. So I've got 6x squared minus 5x minus 2 equals 0. So A is 6. B, I'm going to make sure I use a negative 5, and C is a negative 2. So on this example, when my negative 5 goes into this formula, negative and negative is actually going to make that positive. So that's why I sing the song opposite B, because it's going to be opposite whatever your B is. So 5 plus or minus the square root. I'm putting negative 5 in parentheses, squared, minus 4 times A times C, all over 2 times my A value. So I'm going to focus for just a minute just on simplifying this square root piece. So I'm going to bring it down right here, and as I bring it down, I'm going to kind of simplify some things. So negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. I've got a minus sign. 4 times 6 is 24. Times negative 2 would be negative 48. So this is going to get added. 25 plus 48, I don't happen to know off the top of my head, is 73. And 73 is prime. I can't break that down. So I'm just going to tack on the 5 plus minus over 2 times 6 is 12. So this problem, this could not have been factored to solve because I have this square root still hanging out in my answer. It's called an irrational solution because it can't be simplified. So you could leave the answer like this, or what you might see in the answers today is they'll say, okay, I've got one answer that's 5 plus the square root of 73 over 12, and I have 5 minus the square root of 73 over 12. So they might split up the answers because it's negative b plus or minus square root. So it's really giving you two different answers here. One is this is plus and one is this is minus. All right, thanks guys.